Okay, members, please turn on your videos, microphones, make sure your laptops are muted. We'll unmute the room. Live on YouTube. Okay.
Good afternoon. In accordance with sections 45 and 53 of the Planning Act 1990 as amended, this meeting of the Committee of Adjustment of the City of Toronto is called to order. My name is Larry Clay, and I'll be chairing today's session. Panel members today are Dylan Reed, Ann Crawford, Katie Plazer, and Gary McKay. Our Deputy Secretary Treasurer today is Sabrina Salatino. We acknowledge the land we are meeting on is a traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, and the Haudenosaunee and Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. Committee of Adjustment public hearings are now conducted in a hybrid in-person and virtual format. Some applicants and participants will make their submission in person, and others will participate virtually by electronic means through WebEx. The meetings are also streamed on the Toronto City Planning YouTube channel, and anyone wishing to view the hearing may watch on YouTube. For those participating virtually, when your item is called, you'll be unmuted by the moderator. For both in-person and virtual participants, Committee of Adjustment staff will share presentations submitted in accordance with the written submission deadline. People attending in person today who want to receive a copy of the decision of a committee on an application must fill out a decision request card, and those participating virtually need to submit a written request for a decision by email. If you do not agree with the decision of the committee, you may be able to appeal the decision to the Toronto Local Appeal Body, or in some limited circumstances to the Ontario Land Tribunal. However, the provincial government amended the Planning Act and generally removed rights of third parties to appeal committee decisions. Only the applicant, the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, specified persons and public bodies are permitted to appeal decisions of the committee. Today, I'll call each item on the order listed in the agenda. Where an application is contested, the agent or applicant will proceed with their presentation. When an application is uncontested, the committee may not require a presentation. The committee may ask questions and/or take the matter into committee for a decision. Any presentation or other materials you wish to submit to the committee must have been emailed in advance of the hearing. Staff and committee members cannot accept new materials at the hearing. The applicant or agent will proceed first and make a presentation. Then individuals, either in support or opposed to the application, will be invited to speak. Generally, we call first on speakers in the hearing room and then those participating through WebEx. Each speaker, including the applicant, will be given a maximum of 5 minutes to address the committee, and I'll comment when you're reaching the 5-minute mark. When all speakers are finished, the applicant has an opportunity to rebut those issues that were raised by the speakers, and then this will mark the end of the discussion, and the application will be taken into committee for a decision. Okay. Any declarations of interest? Panel staff in the afternoon session? No files to be closed. Madam Secretary, Deputy Secretary Treasurer, are there any deferrals for this afternoon?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and panel members. Yes, there is one deferral request. Item number 19, 236 Glen Manor Drive West, file number A0177/25TEY.
Okay, we'll proceed with that now. Okay. I'll read it into the record. This is 236 Glen Manor Drive West. This is the application to alter the existing two-story detached dwelling by constructing the one-story southwest addition with a complete second story above to contain a two-car garage and a secondary suite and a front second-story rooftop deck. Also to construct a second-story addition to the east at the east side of the dwelling. Committee has before a copy of the minutes from the April 30th, 2025 public hearing, copy of plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, revised site plan, floor plans, and elevations received April the 21st, covering letter from the agent, tree inventory and preservation report. You know, staff reports from Urban Forestry, correspondence and support from 171 Hammersmith, correspondence in interest from 172 Hammersmith, and correspondence in opposition from 160 Hammersmith.
For you, Mr. Chair, we have the agent online.
All right, Mr. Galbraith.
Afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Sean Galbraith, planner here on behalf of the application, 18 King Street East, Suite 1400.
Thank you, sir. You're seeking a deferral today?
Yeah, we've been working with urban forestry for about the last year on this project, and we thought we had things. We thought we had understood where things stood, but they were apparently not quite on the same wavelength as us. They have recommended a deferral, and we're okay with that. It's to allow for an extra time to do an air spade investigation of the root system of one of the trees. This was always planned for next month anyway, but this will just, out of an abundance of caution, this will just allow us that extra time to go ahead and do that with urban forestry.
Right, yeah, so I think I read that in your material, that it was a bit of a timing issue.
It's just a timing issue, yes, sir.
Okay, all right, panel, I think this is straightforward. We're going to committee. Who wants to move deferral? I don't see any speakers on this, are there? No. Who wants to take this? Anne?
Can move that this application be deferred for the timing reasons explained by the applicant to deal with the tree analysis.
Okay, motion to defer by Ms. Crawford. I have a seconder. Gary, Mr. McKay, all in favor? You have your deferral, sir. Thank you. Hang on. We go back to item number 17. Oh, no. 18, right. Thank you. All right. Number 18 is 19 Duncan Street. This is an application to obtain a stratified consent to sever the existing 58-story mixed-use development with 4 levels of below-grade parking into 2 stratified lots, 1 residential and non-residential lands, and to create various easements, rights of way, also to maintain the existing easements, rights of way. The addresses 219 and 225 Adelaide West contain residential lands, and the addresses 19 Duncan and 223 Adelaide Street West contain non-residential lands. Committee has before a copy of the draft R plan of survey, copy of plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 8 photographs of trees on the subject property, covering letter from the agent, previous decision numbers affecting the subject property, presentation materials from the agent, parts area certificate and parts listing. We have site-specific zoning bylaw affecting the subject property. We have email correspondence from community planning and from transportation review and from heritage review. We have staff report from engineering services and Metrolinx. Oh, hello.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. My name is Eileen Costello, C-O-S-T-E-L-L-O. I'm a solicitor at Aird & Burles LLP, and I'm here on behalf of the owner and applicant, 19 Duncan Property, Inc. Mr. Chairman, as you noted, we pre-filed a application, a short deck to explain the severance. I'm not sure if the committee wants me to walk through that. I'm happy to, or I'm happy to answer any questions the committee may have.
It's always helpful because these are technical and complicated. It's always helpful just to give an overview of what you're proposing. And
it allows us to actually, make up for all the time that we spent in trying to figure out how to explain this to you. So if the committee, if the clerk would be so kind, thank you so much, Ms. Valentino. This is a property, as you indicated, sir, in your overview, which is located at Duncan and Adelaide at the southeast corner. This is an existing property which was constructed and occupied in 2024 for a 58-story mixed-use building. If you could just be so good as to go to the next slide. That shows you the location of the property along Adelaide at Duncan. And then the next slide provides you just with an overview of the development application process. We put this here, sir, because as you're aware, under the requirements of Section 53 and 5124 of the Planning Act, we need to turn our mind to whether this is premature or whether this is an appropriate division of the land. What this demonstrates is that this is a site which has been approved by the city through a complex rezoning and site plan application process. And really what we're doing here today is dividing the residential components of the property from the commercial components of the property to allow for subsequent cost sharing and financing. If we went to the next slide, Madam Deputy Clerk, what you'll see is an awful lot of colors. We probably should have used something other than green and blue now that I see this up there. But what this is intended to demonstrate through both the cross-section and a sample of the ground floor plan is the division which is occurring. And what we've used is 4 different categories to explain to the committee what we're doing. So moving left to right on the legend, what you see are 2 commercial components in a light blue and a royal blue, and then 2 residential components in a light green and a darker green. And really what this demonstrates is that the commercial lands are going to be subject to 2 different sets of easements. Certain of them will be subject to what we call blanket easements, so they're just reciprocal easements to the residential properties. So the common floors, the ground floor, access to the parking garage, the things that you would think of in common, those are subject to blanket easements. Where you see the dark blue, which is commercial shared, that's where there's more specific tailoring being given to components of the commercial which will have access from the residential and vice versa. You could think of that for things like servicing and specific parts of access. Just a note, we talk about commercial and residential. Included in that residential component is a hotel, but because of the nature of the easements, we've included that as the residential component for the purposes of the consent to sever. We've given you, Madam Secretary, if you could just move forward 2 more pages, just a sample of the floor plans, just to give you a sense of how that division occurs on the upper floors. And so there, what you see in the light green, that's the tower component of the residential component. So you'll see that the majority of the residential tower floor plates are going to be residential lands, and they are subject to, in this instance, shared easements to the commercial to allow for access to certain services. The flip on the last slide page is an example of the commercial podium, and there the opposite is true, that you see the majority of that being in the blue. What we've indicated, sir, in our covering letter, through you, Mr. Chair, to the rest of the committee, is that in our view, the proposed division enables the conveyance and the logical conclusion of the planning process for this property. The building's been designed to function as 2 separate elements, and so these easements are allowing that, the zoning and the site plan, to truly be implemented. The proposed subdivision, which I need to say we worked through in exhaustive detail with Ms. Ramore, who I know is here, and so I just want to thank her for her patience with us, didn't raise any zoning compliance requirements and gives rise to no new servicing or maintenance obligations. So we respectfully submit that we have demonstrated compliance with Section 53 and 5124. We have received the planning memorandum and the conditions, Mr. Chairman, through you into the committee, and those conditions are all acceptable to our client. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Just to confirm, there's no conversions from commercial to res in your application?
No change of use, no change of the GFA. This is the building as built in compliance with the zoning and the site plan. We're simply implementing the severance to affect future ownerships and financing.
Okay. All right, thank you. Any questions? Thank you. You did so well. There are no questions. All right, let's go into committee. Anyone want to take this one? I think it's a fairly technical. It's just a strata severance. Okay, Dylan.
Yeah, no, this is really very technical. Severance, it seems completely, as has been expected from when the whole project was begun. I thank the applicant for the helpful explanation, which definitely made clear what was happening. So I move that we approve the severance with the development engineering conditions.
Okay. Motion by Mr. Reid to approve with the engineering, seconded by Ms. Crawford. All in favor? Thank you very much. You have your approval.
Thank you very much. My thanks to the committee. Have a good afternoon.
Okay, we move on to item number 20, 71 Crawford Street. This is an application to alter the existing rear ancillary building by constructing a second-story addition containing a laneway suite with a portion of the ground floor retained for garage parking. There'll be a total of 3 residential dwelling units on this lot, 2 in the main dwelling and 1 in the ancillary building. The committee has before a copy of the minutes of the January 28th public hearing, a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, and a covering letter from the agent.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we have the agent online and no registered speakers.
Okay, good afternoon.
Crawford, okay.
Hello.
Hi, it's Mary Feely here. I'm at 1547 Bloor Street West with SGL Planning.
Okay, hang on a sec. Does anyone need a presentation on this one? Gary, you okay?
Yes, I'm okay with this. I've read the 3 variances, yep.
Okay. All right, ma'am. Yeah, we don't need a presentation today. We've read the material. We're familiar with your application. We may have questions. Before we get to that, is there anything you'd like to share with the committee?
No, happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Dylan?
Yeah, I just want to know if you'd be okay if we put a condition tying it to the site plan in order to secure the landscaping and the permeable pavers.
That would be acceptable, yes.
Perfect.
Through your chair.
Any further questions? See none. Thank you very much, ma'am. We'll take it to the committee. Dylan, you want to take this one?
Yeah, because I remember this from the previous, when it came to us.
Was it deferred?
Yeah, it's deferred. So just a little bit of background. When this came to us in January, the committee noticed that there was no rear landscaping in existence, and yet a previous decision by the
I remember this
the Committee of Adjustment had required a 42%, and they were only suggesting 36%. So we were wondering, where did that, where did all that landscaping that was supposed to be there go? As well, there was some apparent inconsistency in the measurement. So anyway, I'm really pleased to see that those issues have been addressed, and that now there's actually no landscaping variance. They've provided the desired amount, plus they provided permeable pavers on top of that as well. So I feel like this has been a much improved application. The actual application is, fairly minor and straightforward, I think. So I am happy to propose approving these variances with the condition that it be tied to site plan in order to secure the permeable pavers and the soft landscaping.
Okay, great. Motion by Mr. Reed to approve with that condition, seconded by Ms. Plazer. All in favor? Okay, you have your approval, and congratulations on making those improvements. Move to item number 21. 938, 940, 942, 944, 950 King Street West, and 95, 97, 99 Strawn. This is an application to alter the development standards for an 18-story mixed-use building, which is currently under construction, by constructing 1 additional story. There will be a total of 243 residential units on this lot. Committee has before a copy of plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 6 photographs of trees on the subject property, covering letter from the agent's previous decision numbers affecting the subject property, an arborist report, planning rationale, shadow study, wind study, presentation materials, and the site-specific zoning bylaw governing this site. We have staff report from Metrolinx.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I'm just going to have the presenter present under the very late materials. It's a report from community planning, and it includes conditions if the committee is to find merit to approve this application. And we do have the agent here in person.
Okay. Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Names and address, please.
Shaliza Rajan, up 3 Church Street, Suite 200, City of Toronto.
Josh Goldstein, 19 Les Mill Road, Toronto.
Okay. You've seen this planning report with the conditions?
Yes, and we agree with the conditions.
Comfortable with them? Okay. Panel, does, well, this is the old Palace Arms site. Did it retain the facade? Did you guys retain the facade, or is it totally demolished?
It's going to be commemorated, so it'll be part of the new building, but it won't be the exact same materials. There was during the heritage review process, when we looked at the bricks and what could be retained and what could be kept structurally, it was determined that the original brick facade couldn't be retained, so we're reconstructing it.
Right, okay, good. All right, panel, this again, similarly, is fairly straightforward, although I do have a couple questions.
If there's a lot of stuff, maybe a short.
You want a short presentation?
Yeah.
Please, maybe a short presentation then, please.
Yeah, my pleasure. Are staff able to pull up the presentation we submitted? Thank you so much. Ready when you are? Great, timer started. The first thing I wanted to mention and start off with is just thanking staff. We've worked together with city planning on this application. As a result of the ongoing reviews during the site plan process and building permits, as well as fine tuning during construction, it became necessary to introduce the variances today. And we want to thank staff and just appreciate that they welcomed those conversations with us. I also wanted to mention that we reviewed the conditions from planning staff as well as Metrolinx and have no concerns. In particular, if approved, the section 45.9 contribution will make contributions towards the community facilities and or streetscape improvements in Ward 10, which we're also quite enthusiastic about. Can we go to the next slide with the project highlights? Just wanted to take a quick step back and remind everyone how special and cool and interesting the Palace Arms site is. Primarily, of course, it includes the commemoration of the Palace Arms site, which you can see at the bottom on the image of the screen. This is an entirely rental building that's also supported by the City of Toronto. So 35 units are supported through the City of Toronto's Open Doors program. And I think most significantly in this particular instance is this building is currently under construction. So about a year from now, we'll be preparing for occupancy and people will actually be moving in to those rental units, which is also quite exciting. So the overall public benefits for this site, the uniqueness of the heritage facade, just make this a really special, interesting project and a cool site. Let's go to project history next. I won't run through all of these. It's all in the planning rationale. It's all on the screen in front of you. I know this was submitted ahead of time. The key takeaway, though, here is just the amount of progress and change I think has happened over time, going back to the original approval in 2022, the previous committee of adjustment decision. You'll see that we've worked on building permits below and above grade, that we're working towards occupancy, and just a lot of progress has taken place on this site, which is something that I wanted to call out. If we could go to the next slide quickly and just hang on here. So the photos on the screen show the building under construction today. I took the photo on the left there just earlier this month, and then the photo on the right is from the groundbreaking event. And if you can, see if you can spot Josh in the photo. Let's go on. Oh.
You're spotting Josh.
I'm somewhere in there.
We'll take your word for it.
Yeah, let's keep going. Just from a policy point of view, we're in a mixed-use area. We're on an avenue in the City of Toronto. Again, just an area intended for growth and development, which is what's happening here. Let's get into the variances on the next slide. So as I mentioned, this building includes the commemoration of the Palace Arms building. In 2022, when the rezoning was approved, and in the wake of pandemic recovery, which was a really big part of the narrative at the time, it was seen as important to include live-work units. But in the evolving market that we've seen, and through the research we've done, as well as the existing demand for live-work units, we're just not seeing an interest in this particular market. So what we're really keen to see is these units permitted as residential. The change will be kind of what's the term? Indistinguishable to the unaware observer. Like when you're walking along King Street West and you see this building and you see the heritage facade that'll be reconstructed, those units will look indistinguishable. They'll look the same as they kind of are on the screen today, whether they live, work, or residential. Our priority, though, is quality residential over having empty and stagnant spaces on King Street West, which is why we're seeking this particular permission. And there are also retail spaces still being provided at the corner of King and Strachan, which is kind of the more prominent location for retail, and really where we'd like to emphasize that particular component while also providing residential. The last thing I'll say on this particular variance is that there's also existing permission for residential units with ground floor access along Strachan Avenue. So this is just to kind of allow that symbiotic movement between King and Strachan, where they have the same residential units, and then of course we'll have a retail at the corner of King and Strachan. Next slide, please. So variants 7 and 8 adjust the height of the podium and buildings. We're adding one additional story, increasing the height of the top of the roof as well as the top of the mechanical penthouse level. There's also a slight change to the east, and that's due to the heritage facade retention. Again, this process has been going through building permit, and as we've kind of looked at the construction of that, reconstruction of that heritage facade, and kind of providing it with the right treatment and structural integrity, and just kind of the height of the slabs, that extra component to the east, that 0.5 meter increase, became quite necessary. I just wanted to call out as well that the text on the left in that little pink box shows what the changes are relative to the parent bylaw, which is how the zoning waiver is worded, and the image on the right-hand side of the screen just shows the actual changes in comparison to the previous changes at the previous Committee of Adjustment decision. Let's keep going. This is just a height map of the area, reminding us all that King Street West is a very lively and vibrant area with lots of development activity and height approvals, 20 stories and beyond. So again, just wanted to provide that this kind of 19-story height fits within the context of the area. Let's go to the next variance. This is the gross floor area associated with that additional height. And I wanted to call out here that this will help provide 9 additional rental units in this particular building. Next slide, please. Here we have our changes to indoor, outdoor, and overall amenity ratios. I think the important thing to take away from this piece is that really we focused on the quality of the amenity space being provided. I'm not so much kind of going to walk you through the numbers, but I'm going to walk you through what's actually being provided within the building. So on that rooftop level that you see on the screen, we're going to be providing a dog run, a children's play area, a barbecue area. In the indoor spaces, there's going to be co-working and office spaces. There's going to be a gym. There's going to be a lounge. There's going to be a game room. So I think overall, the building continues to provide vibrant spaces that are animated and interesting for the future rental tenants to enjoy. And this will be a really exciting part of this building as well. Last but not least, we have our technical variances. So what variants 9 and 10 do is they ensure that the projections and encroachments permitted in the zoning bylaw are relative to this, this revised diagram, not the previous revised diagram or the other old diagram. So again, mostly just technical in nature. And last but not least, I just want to say that the application has been reviewed by ourselves, and we think it continues to meet the official plan, as well as the Garrison Common Secondary Plan. The changes continue to meet the intent of Bylaw 569, as well as 686/2023. The changes are mostly minor and technical in nature, and they're desirable and appropriate for the community, as well as the broader area. Once again, we're supportive of any conditions, and let me know if you have any more questions.
Thank you, ma'am. I just want to ask a little bit about the ground floor res, because a couple years ago when you were here, committee approved most of what you were asking for, but denied the variance for allowing ground floor res. So maybe you talked a little bit about it, but maybe you can explain so we clearly understand the difference between what you're proposing back then that was refused versus what you're proposing now.
Sure. Give me 1 second. I'm just going to flip the page in my notes. So I mentioned already the component about the market research and how that these units kind of don't have much demand these days. I think the other thing is that with residential, these units were always intended to have a residential component as well as the live work. So our goal is really to provide that live work space. What we're concerned about, especially given that this building is already under construction, is that there isn't demand for these live work spaces, and the retail units will be suboptimal. So in a worst case scenario, these units, which again will be open and available in a year's time, will be sitting vacant. What we want to do is we want to animate King Street and activate it with residential units. And we've reframed the variances, the wording in them in particular, to kind of allow for worst case scenario, residential to the rear of a retail unit, but ideal case scenario, retail at the forefront along King Street. Josh, did you want to add anything?
Why are they unviable for commercial?
I can speak to that. Yeah, so when we work with our internal commercial leasing team as well as external parties in getting their feedback on the market for these spaces, we really have heard from everyone that there's limited appetite for it from a tenant perspective. And so what we want to avoid is, like Shaliza said, having those units sitting vacant, potentially having people loiter or vandalize those spaces. We want to make sure they're used when they're available next year, mid-year or Q3 of 2027. We'd like to have tenants in those spaces. So,
can you agree that having commercial animates the street a little bit more than res?
We don't have confidence that we could find long-term tenants for those spaces.
Dylan?
Just maybe clarify for me, a live workspace cannot not be used as a residential space if it's live work?
It certainly can. The difficulty with these units specifically and us being under construction is that it's difficult to lay out those units with residential uses to the rear of those commercial uses, which is why, if you see in the language, we're proposing that the residential use portion of the live work could be to the side of the commercial space as well.
Okay,
just to give us
so
flexibility
I think
with the
this is
layout.
helping clarify things. So what you're saying is you're looking for this change because that's going to affect how you lay out the interior of these units. Is that correct?
Correct. Ultimately, to ensure that we can lease those spaces.
So can you maybe walk us through the change that you need to do to the layout, just so we fully understand what we're doing?
Yeah, sure. So essentially, those are approximately 700 square feet, I think, each of those spaces, obviously with different complexities with the structural columns and the gas meter all the way to the right there. And I'll just remind you that this is a heritage, this is the heritage portion of the building, so we're pretty limited on what we can do as far as the fronting portion of the building. But the layout, so essentially what we would have been required to do is put all residential uses to the rear of commercial. So you'd have to fit your kitchen, your bathrooms, and your bedroom all to the rear of, I guess, an open commercial space, which just isn't feasible in units that size, especially
so that
when
would
you
have
take
meant that the residential space basically didn't have a window.
Sorry?
So that would have meant that residential area did not have a window.
Correct.
Right, I see, because you'd have the kitchen and everything at the back. So the front could be a living room, but you still wouldn't have. So what are you going to do instead if we approve this?
My expectation would probably be that those, for the front portions, to the right would be a commercial area. I'm saying right, but it could be right or left. To one side would be the commercial area. One side would probably be that main, probably the bedroom. So
What you're saying is that there still might be scope for someone to be like running a small business, like a, tax preparer or something out of their home, but you're just changing residential enables you to change the layout so that it's more feasible as a purely residential if that's what's available.
Yeah, exactly. It's essentially allowing us flexibility to design a space that someone will want.
And so people could still, if they wanted to run a small business or service out of their home, they would still be able to do that on that level. Is that correct? Or would they be forbidden to do that because it's residential?
No, from our perspective, we're open to that, absolutely.
From a zoning perspective, is that allowed?
I believe so.
Yeah, that would still work.
Okay, so basically you're asking for this change in order to change the layout so that it's one that could be either residential in an appealing way or still it could be commercial.
Exactly.
Okay, that's very, very helpful. Thank you. I understand much better what's going on.
I do too, but I'm just, so you've indicated that it's not viable for commercial or live work, so you're going to convert them to res, right? So is that what you're, I'm just trying to understand exactly what you're proposing here, because if you're looking for flexibility to construct the floor plate, Are you redoing the floor plate for res? Or what are you redoing the floor plate for?
Ultimately, I think our goal would be to create a layout that is flexible in its use. And so if someone did want to use it as a live-work unit, they'd be able to use that front portion of their unit as such. And if we have difficulty leasing them as live-work units because commercial operators aren't interested, we could have the fallback plan to
Which
rent
frankly,
it as residential.
honestly, that sounds like that's probably where you're going to go. Because you've indicated that there's no demand for the latter or the former.
Our market research is indicating that there'll be much more appetite
Well,
for
the
residential.
likelihood, Dylan, is it's all going to be res.
Yeah, but I wanted to understand why we were making this change.
Yeah.
Because presumably in live work, if you just want to live there, you can. But now I understand better why the zoning change is desirable.
I live work in my spare bedroom.
Yeah, I live work in my, yes, in my living room.
All right.
Okay, for the question, so following up on what Larry was asking, I wasn't there at the earlier one where 2 of the variances related to the ground floor uses were refused. Are you simply asking us to change that decision, or is there something slightly different in what you're asking us to do now?
Yeah, from a zoning perspective, again, we've reworded it to kind of allow for that flexible wording that Josh was talking about. So variance 1 is similar to what you saw last time. Dwelling units may be located on the first story that have direct access a major policy street, which is King Street. So we're allowing for the potential for entrances and exits, egress and egress along King Street. And then variance 2 has been reworded for that floor plate layout, where in this case, the dwelling units, including residential amenity spaces, will be located on the first story of the building to the side and rear of non-residential uses on the first story. So that allows for that flexible floor plate that Josh was telling you about.
That's a little bit different from what you were asking for and what was refused last time.
Yes, different than last time.
Okay, thank you.
So is there a difference between Strawn and King in this instance? Is the treatment, what you're asking for, the same on both those streets? Or
So Strawn already has the permission because Strawn isn't a major street on policy overlay map in the zoning perspective.
Right.
King doesn't have the same permission.
Okay.
So we're talking about 2 units essentially on King because the other 2 are designated retail on the plan? Okay, thank you.
Further question. In the description, it said that, the design process suggested, adding this extra story. I was just wondering it just looks very much the same as what it did at 18. So I was just wondering what the design considerations were that led to a feeling that an extra story was appropriate.
Yeah, I think it's mostly just the kind of unfolding during the construction process, like as circumstances change, construction unfolds, reevaluation occurs from Josh and his team's point of view. There just comes a time where you're like, well, we need to kind of relook at this project, see if what's feasible, is it still working, and is it still viable? And then part of that was adding that additional story. Josh, did you want to add anything this time?
I would say that summarizes it well.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, Kate, Katie made an interesting point, which I want to come back to so I understand it. So the ground floor on King and Strawn isn't going to be entirely res, right? So you're retaining some retail?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
two retail units.
On King or on Strawn?
At the corner of King and Strong.
Okay.
And then one's on King, right?
Yeah, sorry, 1 at the corner of King and Strawn and 1
Okay.
adjacent.
So that's helpful. I thank you for that. I wasn't I thought we were looking at an entire conversion around the perimeter.
No.
Okay, so it's just those units which are, I guess, east of the corner on King and north on Strawn.
Just east on King.
Yeah, just east on King. And there's no retail on Strawn. It's just on King?
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
So just to come back, so the extra story is just because you thought that there was basically, that was something you could, that was marketable, or?
Yeah, just that the market would bear those units, and obviously delivering more rental units, having those there long-term was beneficial on both sides from our perspective. Okay. And so really, in our conversations with city staff, they seemed very willing and open to that, and especially with the cash contribution that we are providing of $125,000, should the variances be approved, that There is benefit on both sides.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Okay, any further questions? Oh, Gary, go ahead.
Yeah, just a quick comment. It really doesn't relate to the variances, but it does seem to have an interesting historical background. The legal description is part of 11, part of lot 11 on ordnance reserve. So at one point it was really designated for putting like military munitions on the site. So that would take us quite a ways back in Ontario history, but it's not usual to see something like that. You might see an old registered plan, but an ordnance reserve, an early laying out, and as I say, reasonably to store munitions. Anyway, so I saw that description. It amused me, and that just relates to a lot of old real estate that I used to do many years ago. Okay, that's it.
Okay, thanks, Gary. I'm sure that whoever is operating the excavator material was being very careful.
Hopefully so, yes.
All right, I think that's it for questions. Anyone else? No? Thank you very much. We'll take it into committee. Dylan, you want to take this one?
Yeah, sure. I'm happy to take this. I mean, what a fascinating project. I feel like I'm satisfied with the explanation about the switch to residential. I thought that was a little confusing, and I'm pleased to have had that straightened out. I do feel it's reasonable in terms of the way it's being explained. Also, in terms of the extra story, yes, I can see that's a benefit. It's a really great area. Providing more rental in this area will be a definite advantage, and of course, there's an advantage to the city as well. That provides some funding for local projects. So I am happy to move a motion to approve these variances with the Metrolinx clause and with the planning conditions.
Okay, motion by Mr. Reed to approve, seconded by Ms. Plazer. All in favor? You have your approval. Thank you for coming down.
Thank you very much.
Have a good afternoon.
All right, item number 22, 133 Hazelwood Ave. This is an application to alter the existing 2.5-story detached dwelling by constructing a rear 2-story addition, including a basement extension below, a new covered front porch with stairs, a rear ground floor deck with stairs, and also to construct a new 1-story detached garage in the rear yard abutting the laneway. Committee has before it a copy plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 5 photographs of the subject property, several decision numbers affecting adjacent and nearby properties. You have an OMB decision number affecting a different property. You have an arborist report and staff report from Urban Forestry.
Real, Mr. Chair, we have the agent online and no registered speakers.
Okay, good afternoon, sir.
Hi, my name is Daniel Vinciani, and I'm the agent representing the owners. My address is 3 Halberdier Place, Toronto, Ontario, M9B 2H4.
Okay, hang on a sec, sir. Folks, anyone need a presentation on this one? Almost just replacing the existing. Okay, Gary, you okay? All right, sir, we've read your application. We're familiar with the material. It's fairly straightforward. We don't need a presentation today. Is there anything you'd like to share with the panel before we take it into committee for a decision?
No, I'm happy to answer any questions panel might have.
Thank you, sir. Any questions of the applicant? None? Okay. Sir, we have no questions. We'll take it into committee for a decision. Ann, I saw your hand move, so that's the danger.
Oh, okay.
That's the danger. If I see a hand move out of the corner of my eye, you're called on.
Yeah, I would move to approve this application. The variances are minor. It's a narrow lot. There's evidence of similar built form in the neighborhood. There's an OMB decision for neighboring property. The applicant provided dozens of related Committee of Adjustment approvals for the area. So I would move to approve it with urban forestry condition 2.
Okay, motion by Ms. Crawford to approve. I have a seconder. Gary, Mr. McKay, all in favor?
Yes. All in favor?
Okay, you have your approval. Thank you, ma'am. Sir. It was a sir, pardon me. All right. Move on to item number 23. 1416 Gerrard Street East. This is an application to alter the existing two-story mixed-use building by converting the rear portion of the ground floor area into new cafe sandwich shop and to construct a total of 7 hotel rooms, 2 within the basement, 5 on the second level. The existing restaurant within the front portion of the ground floor and the storage area with a portion of the basement area will be maintained. Committee has before a copy plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 3 photographs of the subject property, and we have correspondence and support from 1418 and 1420 Gerrard Street East.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we have the agent online and 1 registered speaker.
Okay. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. My name is Stavros Theodorakopoulos of ST Engineering. My address is 2 Black Horse, Aurora, and I'm here representing the owner on this application.
Great, thank you, sir. We have someone who wishes to speak to this item, so we'll need a short presentation, please.
Okay, no problem. So we're basically proposing an interior alterations to the 2-story building. The second floor, which was originally, at one time was office, most currently was 2 apartments. And we are now proposing to convert it to a boutique hotel rooms. The ground floor, which was all restaurants, we're making the restaurant slightly smaller and introducing a cafe at the rear of the property. And we've already submitted this separately and have a permit for the ground floor changes. So we're basically looking at the second floor conversion to a boutique hotel. There are 2 minor variances involved in this. One, because there's no residential, we have variance for the total floor space index being used as commercial space. And again, both variances are associated with the same issue. We've spoken to several of the neighbors, and there didn't seem to be any opposition. There was a letter of support. We've also spoken to the Gerrard BIA, and again, they were supportive of this, and as well as the area councillor. So if there are any questions, I'm willing to answer them, and I'd like to hear what the other person has to say, please.
Okay, thank you very much. I think we'll call on that person now. Hi, Matani? Hello?
Yes, this is Matani.
Hi, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any objection. I was wondering if...
Sorry for interrupting. If I could get your full name and address, please, for the record.
My name is Govind Matani. I'm the owner of New Creation Fashion at 1414 Gerrard Street East.
Okay. Sir, you've got 5 minutes.
I don't have any objection for this boutique hotel and cafe coming in there. The only concern was how are they going to have the parking available for the units in the hotel?
Okay. We'll ask that question of the agent, and he'll be able to respond to you. Okay, we can have the agent back.
Yes, well, the idea, and the owner has done some research, is that there really isn't a huge demand for, since we are on the main street, parking is not going to be an issue for his business. And people are generally visiting the city without a car, staying for a short time. And that's what we're gearing towards. It won't be long-term stays. It'll be, boutique hotel type stays. Since we are on the main street and there are some parking lots in that area, we don't feel that this will be an issue for us.
Okay, there's green pea around there, right?
That's right.
Okay. All right, thank you. Dylan?
Just a couple questions. I mean, it's a bit unusual to have hotel rooms in the basement. I'm just wondering how you see that working.
Well, we've introduced a window well, which will provide some natural light to the basement, and complies with the building code. And we have a pretty decent ceiling height down there. And the owner is keen on doing, theme type rooms. So he's got some pretty exotic ideas of how he's going to make it work. And they're not big hotel rooms, but they're typical hotel rooms, 200-300 square feet in total area.
Okay, thanks. And I see there's even a kitchenette in there, so. And obviously there's no lobby, so I assume you're going to be booking remote online and such like that.
I think the idea is that the owner is going to manage and run the cafe, which will operate as the hotel manager.
Oh, okay. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, thanks. That just helps clarify how it's going to be used. So thanks.
Sure.
Okay, yeah, Katie?
Thank you. I'm just curious about the current status of the 2 rental units that are going to be lost. Are they currently occupied? Have you gone through the rental housing conversion application process for this?
No, when the owner bought the building in December, I believe, the second floor was vacant.
And
so there were 2 apartments there, but nobody was living there. It was actually in very bad condition. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else? All right. Thank you. We'll take this into committee. Seems a reasonable proposal. Anybody? Katie?
Yeah, I hesitated around the loss of 2 good-sized rental units that are well located on a main street, but I'm satisfied with the answer that I was given around that. I think that generally short-term rental and hotels that are located in neighborhoods like this are very appealing, and I think that this makes a good candidate for that kind of use, so I'm happy to support with no condition.
It's a motion by Ms. Placer to approve, seconded by Mr. Reed. All in favor? Have your approval, sir. Thank you. Move on to item number 24. 40 Donlands Ave. This is an application to alter the existing 2-story place of worship by constructing a 2-story addition, which is basically accommodating an elevator at the northeast corner of the building. Committee has before it a copy of plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevation, 6 photographs of the subject property.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we have the agent online and all registered speakers.
Good afternoon, sir.
This is the,
Hello.
Hello. Good afternoon, committee members and Mr. Chair. My name is Sabal Mesnef, QBS Architects. I am the agent.
All right. Thank you, ma'am. Just hang on a second. I think this was pretty straightforward. I don't think we need a presentation today, ma'am. We've read your application. We're familiar with the material. Is there anything you'd like to share with the panel before we take it in for a committee decision?
No, thank you.
All right. Anyone have any questions? No? Okay, let's go into committee. Looks like it's fairly straightforward. Dylan?
Yeah, I live in the area. I'm happy to move a motion. I think I just want to say, first of all, it's obviously great to make a church accessible. Secondly, I think the design is really thoughtful and integrates really nicely into the church, which I think is really appreciated. Really, the variances are almost existing in the sense that the church already kind of extends that length. It's just kind of adding to the existing structure. So I really think there's no impact. I think it's definitely desirable. So I'm happy to have a motion to approve the variances.
Okay, motion by Mr. Reed to approve. Do I have a seconder? Ms. Crawford, all in favor? You have your approval, ma'am. Thank you. Item 25 is 3 New Street. This is an application to alter the existing 3-story building by constructing a rear 3rd-story addition, converting the existing 3rd floor balcony into habitable space, a complete 4th-story addition with a front balcony above the 3rd floor, and a rooftop mechanical unit with screening. The existing integral 2-car garage will be maintained and unaltered. This building, which used to contain commercial live-work use, will only contain residential use. Committee has before it a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 2 photographs of the subject property. We have previous decision number affecting the subject property, email correspondence with Heritage Planning, planning justification letter. We have email correspondence again from Heritage Planning and from Toronto Paramedic Services. There's also correspondence and support from 9 New Street.
For you, Mr. Chair, we have the agent online and 1 registered speaker, but they are not online.
Oh, okay. Were they in support or opposed?
Support,
They were
yeah.
in support? Okay. All right. Thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and members of committee. My name is Oriana Nanoa, Registered Professional Planner, Design Plan Services, Inc., located at 87 Skyway Avenue, Suite 200, Toronto.
Thank you, ma'am. We don't need a full presentation, but you probably saw the letter from Paramedic Services registering a little bit of concern about blockage and stuff. Maybe you could speak to that.
Through you, Chair, absolutely. We have reviewed that correspondence from the Paramedic Services just located across the street from 3 New Street. The owner is aware of this, and we will be proceeding accordingly with respect to what was noted in the letter of correspondence.
Okay, so the presumption is that you won't be doing any staging or anything during construction that would obstruct ambulances coming in and out.
That is correct.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Any other questions? Dylan, did you have a question? No? Gary, you okay?
I had a note, and I may be in the wrong one. I had a note that there was a redlined public notice, but I may have could possibly related to another application. Was there a redlined public notice here?
No, there wasn't.
Okay. Okay, fine.
Okay.
Thanks. Good to know. Yep.
All right. No other further questions? Okay, we'll take it into committee. Dylan?
Yeah, I'm happy to take this one. I'm familiar with this area. Normally, I would say like a single family home, I'd have a concern about a 4th story, but this is a very unusual lot and a very unusual area.
Weird street.
The weird street, the buildings are really random. The lot is very constrained. I think this is a perfectly good proposal. I mean, basically the ground floor is the garage. There's no space for a garage. So it seems entirely reasonable to me to add a 4th story in this case. And they've designed it so that it sits back a bit and it's not very prominent. So I'm happy to move approval of these variances.
Okay, motion by Mr. Reid to approve. I have a seconder, Mr. McKay. All in favor? You have your approval, ma'am. Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Chair, items 26 and 33 will be dealt with at 3 o'clock or shortly thereafter. So perhaps maybe we take a 5-minute break, allow people to come in and sign in, and then we can get started.
Okay.
Thank you. Members, please turn off your videos, microphones. We'll mute the room. Okay, members, please turn on your videos, microphones. We'll unmute the room.
Okay, we'll resume with item number 26, 119 Victor Ave. This is an application to alter the existing 2.5-story semi-detached dwelling by constructing a rear 3rd-story dormer addition. Committee has before it a copy plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 6 photographs of trees in the subject property, and presentation materials from the agent. We have 2 form letters in support from 117 and 121 Victor.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we have the agent online and all registered speakers.
All right. Good afternoon, sir.
Committee members, my name is Adam Brander from Brander Architects. Our address is 260 Carla Avenue, Suite 202D. I'm the agent for the proposal at 119 Victor Avenue.
Great, sir. First off, I see you submitted some presentation materials. I don't think necessarily we're going to need them today because it's a fairly straightforward application. It's just FSI. We're familiar with your application. Before we take it into committee for a decision, is there anything you'd like to share with the committee?
Just echo that the application seems minor to me and straightforward. There's neighbor support and happy to answer any questions there might be.
Okay, thank you, sir. Any questions of the agent? See none. All right, we're in committee. Who wants to take this one?
I'm happy to move a motion on this.
Katie.
Yeah, one variance just for FSI, and I think it's a very modest proposal. I think it makes a lot of sense in terms of functionality. So happy to move a motion, and I don't see a motion for approval, and I don't see any what's the word I'm looking for? Conditions. Thank you, Chair.
All right, motion by Ms. Blazer to approve. I have a seconder. Ms. Crawford, all in favor? You have your approval, sir. Thank you very much. Move on to item number 27. This is 45 Geneva Avenue. This is an application to alter the existing 2-story townhouse dwelling by enlarging the rear 2-story addition. Also to construct a rear ground floor deck with stairs. Committee has before it a copy of plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. Revised site plan, floor plans, and elevations received April 23rd. Red line public notice received April 23rd. Covering letter from the agent, 2 photographs of the subject property, presentation materials from the agent, and a shadow study. We have email correspondence from TRCA and Heritage Planning. There is correspondence in concern interest from 47 Geneva. There's correspondence in opposition from 39, 42, 43 Geneva, and 12 form letters in opposition from owners occupants of 24, 18, 21, 22, 24, 27, 29, 30, 34, 38, 41, and 47 Geneva.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we have the agent online and 3 registered speakers.
Yes, okay.
Sorry, in person.
Hi, afternoon.
Good afternoon, Chair, committee members.
Names and addresses, please.
Sure. My name is Luke Chandler. I'm planner at Studio Deep, representing the owners of 45 Geneva, and our offices are at 197 Spadina Avenue.
Great. And you, sir? Push your green button there.
Julian Robillard, architect at Deep Architecture for 45 Geneva. Our address is 197 Spadina Avenue.
Great, thank you very much. All right, we have some folks who want to speak to this item. So we'll need a presentation, please.
Absolutely, yeah, I'm ready to go.
Do we have, oh, this is it here? Okay, off you go.
Okay, great, thanks very much. So as mentioned, I'm a planner representing the owners of 45 Geneva in this MANOR variance application. I just do want to mention off the top that last week we submitted revised drawings and a redlined public notice. These were for design revisions to the rear deck and stairs, which
Can we just go through your red line version before you get into your presentation?
Yeah. So number 4 there, the ground floor rear deck projection was reduced, so it now encroaches 2.28 meters into the required rear yard setback rather than the previous 3.74. And the stair encroachment, the stairs were moved from one side lot line to the other, so the only adjustment there is from specifying which side lot line the variance is required for.
Great, thank you. All right, now you can go back to your presentation. Thank you.
Perfect, thank you very much. Can we jump right to the 3rd page, please? So 45 Geneva is a long, narrow lot. It's one of 6 residences in a townhouse block, a row house block. The current building is a 2-story residence with an existing 1-story rear addition. Next slide, please. The proposal is to replace the existing rear addition with a new 2-story addition. This would be squared out at the rear corner on the east side and extended to the property line on the west side. The new rear deck and stairs that we were just discussing were part of this proposal as well. Next slide, please. Here we are comparing the existing with the proposed building statistics. The total building height is increased by just over a foot for the addition just to achieve a more contemporary design. The density is increasing due to the expansion of the addition, and the building depth and building setbacks are all remaining in line with what the existing condition is, matching the current addition. Next slide, please. Just to go through the variances quickly, we do require one for building depth because we're replacing the addition. So it is the existing condition, but it is beyond the permitted 17 meters. Next slide, please. The FSI is increasing due to a small area on the ground floor, the expansion, and then of course the 2nd-story room. Next slide, please. Oh, sorry, just to be clear, and that's going from the existing lawfully non-conformant 1.07 FSI to 1.2 FSI. The rear yard is similar to the depth in that we're matching the existing condition, but because we're replacing the addition, we require the variance to achieve that. So that's the minimum would be 7.5 under the bylaw, and we are replacing the existing to 6.24 meters. Next slide, please. So the 2 rear deck and stairs variances. These are 2 variances, but I just put them together here for simplicity. As mentioned, they were revised. So the rear platform is encroaching 2.27, which is a permitted length into the required setback, but it is 0 meters from the lot line on either side, and so requires variance for that. Stairs similarly are otherwise conformant, but are 0.1 meters from the side lot line, so do require variance. Next slide, please. Now, as you've noted, there's a number of letters of concern, so the next few slides are dedicated to sort of major aspects that were raised during the the community letters. The first we're looking at, of the 3 most pressing, are privacy concerns, and these were specifically raised early on by the owners of 47 Geneva Avenue, which is the residence to the east. In response to this, the deck was reduced in scale, and the planter providing a vegetative screen was added to that east side. My understanding is that these neighbors are satisfied with this solution, so long as there can be a structural screening component included so that it's not reliant on the vegetation being upheld in perpetuity. I believe they are dialing in today, so I don't want to speak too much on their behalf, but my understanding of the situation is we were able to reach a compromise and they had offered to retract their objection. The other component of privacy is that the extended addition will have no windows on either side elevations and will actually remove the existing 2nd floor deck. So in our opinion, that this will both mitigate privacy concerns and also lessen the existing impact of overlook. Next slide, please. Shadow is another main concern, especially highlighted by the neighbor at 43 Geneva Avenue to the west. We submitted a full shadow study for committee to review, but here's an excerpt from the March 21st test date. We do see increased impacts in the morning hours between 9:18 and 11:18, although we do consider them to be relatively minor. And just important to note that 11:18 a.m. is the only date where there's an increased impact on the habitable windows that are sort of within the notched area, demonstrated by the bottom right image there. June 21st has similar results on those 3 morning hours, and December 21st also has marginal impacts at 9 and 10:18.
Okay, so I'm just going to ask you if you could wrap up, please.
Sure thing, yeah. So next slide. This is the last one before the test. I'll just do really quickly. There's also was a concern raised about neighborhood character, the width of the addition and the loss of the full length notch. And this image is just to highlight that there's actually a huge variety of how additions and these light well notches have been applied on this exact block. From full length with additions that are significantly longer than their adjacent properties, and also internal courtyard style light wells versus full length from the rear lane. Next slide, please. And then I'll just end quickly by agreeing that we do conform to the 4 tests as of the Planning Act. They maintain the intent of the official plan. We maintain the purpose intent of the zoning bylaw. Do believe the variances are minor in nature, and as demonstrated above, we do not believe it's significant alteration of neighborhood character, and it facilitates continued and appropriate use of the lands as a single-family residence.
Thank you, sir. Did I hear you say you've agreed to privacy screening on your deck on both sides?
Well, we discussed specifically with the neighbor to the east on privacy screening, but I'm sure that the owners would be open to privacy screening on both sides if that's necessary.
Thank you. All right, we'll hold, and we have some folks wanting to speak.
Yes, we have one speaker in person.
Oh, sorry, someone's here? Come on up, sir.
And one online.
Okay, thanks. Good afternoon. You want to sit in the middle so we can get you full on camera.
Okay, I'm used to that.
No, you want green.
All right, there we go.
Name and address, please, sir.
Roger Peterson, 43 Geneva Avenue, the neighbor to the west.
Okay, you have 5 minutes, sir.
Okay, thank you very much, Chair and the committee. Our homes sit on very narrow lots. You can see them that are there. You can see what they showed on those pictures. Very little exposure except for those cutouts in the rear. And the big thing with those cutouts is how much light it brings in to the central part of the house. My kitchen is in the central part of the house. That window there faces south and gets a lot of southern exposure all during the day. And with the proposed expansion, if you pull up some of the photos from my presentation, I believe 2 and 3, you might have to go down actually for my photos. Is this my presentation or theirs? I submitted one as well.
Hold on, we're just going to find
Here we
it,
go.
sir.
There we go. Those are the, so you can see there, those photos there, looking, the next one, if you don't mind. Thank you. That's looking out. And then the next one as well will show the light that comes in through that cutout there. And it has a huge impact on light into the house there. And with the metrics on page 4, from my studies, I have the narrowing the gap from 1.8 meters to 0.9 meters in that gap. It would, the sky view factor for some of the rooms would drop by nearly half. Direct sunlight, even more so, we would see it, their applicant's own study, winter solstice, my home might receive 0 hours of direct sunlight into those cutout windows there, which are my kitchen and my second floor bedroom. And so they would be greatly impacted by it. And the center bedroom is a third picture. You can, if you'd like to see up there, you can see the sun coming into that. And with this extension that they would put up to the edge of my property, that would greatly reduce it, how much light is actually exposed. If you go to the wider shot, please, I believe it's the next one. Yeah, that's the one. So you can see this is looking north onto my cutout, into the cutouts, and their proposed extension is where that balcony is on the second floor. That would come right over, and the sun would be blocked all the way up, plus higher than what our current levels are, and that would block light coming into those windows in the center there that are so important to me. And along with that, in the back, the privacy, we had talked about the deck. I didn't see the new version of it. And that massing I would have on my deck there, which is already recessed, it's at the original house line. It would be, I'd have this 2-story mass beside me, and more, I would be losing light there as well. And then we would lose all the greenery that is there. They want to take that out. It's on the property line. We would lose that greenery, which is a great natural border between the two buildings. So it will be losing that as well. The changes to the deck, it's still over the variances for it, which is still a little concerning. They'll have a view down into my property more than I can't see anything from where my deck is because of the extensions on both sides of me. All I see is into my own yard, and the greenery protects them, which will now be gone. And those are essentially my main concerns about it, is the loss of light is a huge thing, the shadowing that will happen with it, and this massing along the back deck, that would be a concern. And he mentioned about the Planning Act, the 4 tests. I'd like to respond this way. The variances cannot reasonably be considered minor, as their combined effect is to remove one of the only remaining sources of light, air, and separation in an already constrained row house condition. The proposal is not desirable for the appropriate development of the land. It effectively transfers built form and amenity from one property to another by eliminating a shared spatial condition that currently benefits both dwellings. The proposal, number 3, does not maintain the intent of the zoning bylaw, which is to regulate depth, separation, and overlook in order to ensure compatibility between the 2 properties. And the official plan requires that new development be located and organized to fit within its existing physical and built form context, and to limit adverse impacts on neighboring properties, including impacts on light, privacy, and access to sky view. And their access to the sky view and the sun would actually be less affected by this extension than my house would be. And I think that's everything. If there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
If you just hold that photo there, if you go back to that photo. So is there it looks like there's a significant, is that a grade change between you and your neighbor? Or is that just simply a fence or some sort of, it almost looks like the ground on their side.
Their ground is lower. They've dug out part of it, so their walkout comes from their walkout to the backyard is from their basement.
Okay, so it's roughly the same as yours in terms of.
It's part of it is, and then part of it is lower. So they have about half their backyard dug out. So that's where their exit. They have sliding doors from their backyard or from the back of the house into the yard.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Katie.
One follow-up question. So just to make sure I'm understanding the spatial arrangement properly, if ostensibly if you were to build an extension that matched the massing and side yard to side yard dimensionality of what's being proposed, would that turn your cutouts into an unusable courtyard?
It would essentially entomb it, yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, anything else? Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Right, we have someone online. Excuse me. All right, our next speaker is Nico.
Yeah.
Hello, Nico.
Nico, you've been muted.
This is the opposite neighbor, right? Nico, are you there, sir? Is he having trouble with muting?
I will try to call.
Okay. We'll give you a call, Nico.
Nico, you've been muted.
Hello, Nico, you there?
Yes, hello. Can everyone hear me?
There you are. Yes, sir. If we could have your name and address, please, for the record.
full name is Nico DeRover. Address is 47 Geneva Avenue, just on the east side.
Okay. You have 5 minutes, sir.
So we've, thank you. I won't need full 5 minutes. I can get some time back. We successfully spoke to our neighbors on the rear deck, which was our largest concern, as it was originally quite large, and we just had some privacy concerns, specifically in terms of overlooking into our family room and into our backyard. And so that was the original plan. And so as we discussed at the very beginning, those plans were adjusted, and they significantly sized back the rear deck, along with a proposal for privacy screening on our side, specifically, I think the greenery. So I think our only ask, which was not submitted in time, I think before April 22nd, was just the alignment that we have an email with the neighbors to make sure that the privacy screening is structural and in plan, just to ensure that if the neighbors ever move, or a planter on its own didn't seem like a very permanent solution on privacy, or the risk of overlooking into the family room. So we just wanted to make sure that those plans reflect a more permanent privacy screening solution, and that alignment we have agreed on in email. And I just wanted to make sure that is reflected here on the record, as the email was not submitted in time. And that really was our largest concern. We obviously both have a notch at the end of our extension, and that notch is there for light and privacy purposes. So if they remove their notch and go full width on the extension, we're effectively okay with that, as long as we can safeguard the privacy into our family room.
Okay, thank you. Questions?
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And that's it for our speakers. So we'll have the agent back up. So, sir, you've got 5 minutes to respond. So it sounds like you've had conversations with Mr. DeRover. Have you had conversations with Mr. Peterson?
Yeah, but they were, actually, Julian, maybe you could speak to this, because you had a call early on in April with the...
Yeah, but we did have Mr. DeRover agreed on everything we submitted, so that seemed to be fine. We did have a call with Mr. Peterson, and he did express the light concern. We provided the shadow study, and we according to the shadow study, we the impact of the light, blocking the light is quite, well, it's certain hours on certain days as provided in the report. So, which is, we consider it quite minimal as of changes. Besides that, there was no other conversation with number 43.
Yeah, my understanding is we didn't receive any feedback after that, and then we saw the form letters arriving in the application, so we assumed that there wasn't an interest in further negotiations of some kind.
So if you could take a few minutes to respond to what you've heard then?
Absolutely, yeah. I want to thank Mr. Peterson for the very extensive letter and the shadow assessment. I have to agree that these are narrow lots, and shadow impact should be considered. I don't believe that assessment has perhaps as much technical merit as something done 3D would be, and I think we have our shadow study that speaks to a sort of more favorable impact condition. On a couple of other notes, he mentioned that the greenery along the border was planned to be removed, and I was informed that they had committed to keeping that, so I'm not sure, there's maybe a miscommunication there, but I think I can confirm that there's no plan to remove greenery along the top of the border fence, as far as I'm aware. And I think the main issue that Mr. Peterson's speaking to is of course the loss of light, and I do think that those impacts are marginal. And maybe I can also speak to the concept that if he mirrored the development, does that create, you know, sort of an unusable situation? And I think maybe I would need more clarity on what usable means. It's not a non-functional space other than to bring in light, and I do believe that would still occur. These are not tall buildings. I think all seasons would still provide light through it would just become a light well rather than a notch, but it's not currently a usable functional space that will be lost, you know, to time with if something like this were to be replicated.
Okay, great, thank you. Questions? Dylan?
Yeah, just, I mean, the current addition does step back to keep that space open. I'm just wondering if you considered building the new addition within those boundaries, and if not, and why you chose not to.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for the question. The owners did look at that, and the reality of it is just that this renovation would not be feasible with just to replicate the existing footprint only. This is one of the most narrow, this one in particular is one of the most narrow lots on the block, and with the amount of work and money that would be involved in just simply extending the current fairly small addition upwards, it just wouldn't be feasible financially. We'd still need to come to committee, still need to hire planners, still need to hire architects for their drawings, still need to get it done, send it to building permit, get it built for what would essentially be to put half a room on top of an aging addition. So it just was a feasibility. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else have any questions? See none? All right, thank you very much. We'll take it into committee. Who wants to start us off? Anyone? Dylan, you're always good for...
No, I think someone else should start off.
All right. Katie?
Oh, I thought Dylan said yes. Sure. My thoughts at this point are that I think this is an overbuild. You can see how the original structure and layout of these constrained, narrow homes really included some intentional and well-designed thinking in terms of making sure sunlight penetrates into the interior of all the homes. And I think an extension of this magnitude does a disservice to that thoughtful original design. Excuse me. I know that there isn't a variance before us around the width of this extension, but I think that, to the point of some of the questions raised earlier, that the objectives of this project could probably be achieved with a little bit less of what I would consider an overbuild. Okay. I'm very curious to hear other thoughts.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I'm a little on the fence on this one because objectively the variances are not extremely large, but we're looking at houses on a block on very narrow lots, and so the rear open spaces are important. And I think the point was made that a small change on a small lot can mean more than a small change on a large lot, and also that cumulative small changes can create a situation that might not be there if it was just one of the changes being looked at. So I'm listening. I'm taking Katie's points, and maybe other members want to weigh in.
Okay. All right, Dylan, I'm going to make you.
Let's hear from Gary first.
Oh, we want to hear Gary first. Gary, what are your thoughts?
No, I was influenced by just Katie and Ann, so I don't have separate. I'm concerned about the sort of loss of light.
Okay.
So I'm not sure how I'd vote on this.
All right,
so
thank you.
I have to hear from Dylan.
Everyone wants to hear Dylan.
Yeah, I mean, this is very challenging because obviously it's an extremely narrow lot. In order to create significant new space, you need to, some variances are needed. On the other hand, for the same reason, the impacts are much higher. I notice, there are some lots where they've done extensions that expand the whole width, but those seem to be lots where there's already a bit of a space between the buildings. Those are semi-detached. On the other hand, I do look at the shadow study, and it does seem to be, a professionally done shadow study, and the direct sunlight cut does seem to be restricted mostly to 1 hour in the morning. I think the pictures that the neighbor provided really speak to how there will be a significant impact in terms of visuals. Visuals is less of an issue. It seems like the actual sunlight impact is fairly limited. And if the neighbor did build to the edge, some places do have light wells. That is a pretty common thing. And also, it is also, I accept the applicant's point that, the lot is so narrow that, to build an extension, to create a more usable space, does kind of require that extension. I do appreciate that the applicant shrank the rear deck. I think that really helps. So I'm very sympathetic to the neighbor, but at the same time, I feel like the overall build is minor and is not unreasonable in terms of, expanding the space in a very narrow lot. So I think on the balance, I would probably support this. Yeah.
Okay, so I'll just weigh in. This is a not atypical condition or situation in Toronto, in row houses and semis where the original construction did contemplate a light well for both properties. But it does pose some constraints on property owners when they do want to make modifications to their house. Like you, Dylan, I actually looked at the shadow study, and I would agree that the amount of direct impact is relatively limited. I think the neighbor at 43 may find there are some periods of time in the morning where that direct light that was going into their windows may not be direct, but there still will be indirect light into that little vestibule. From late morning right through to the evening, this addition won't have any incremental impact on that. I would also note that this is a situation where there was an existing one-story addition off the bat, albeit wasn't necessarily lot line to lot line, but it still was there. So this is simply adding a story above that. I think, again, while sympathetic to the neighbor, I do think that given the fact that these are very narrow and not very deep lots, although there is a laneway in behind, there are fairly significant limitations to putting additions on that I will take the applicant's word that, extending it out from the existing cutout would be not particularly practical given the amount of money that they have to spend to do that, and maximizing the return on that extension would require making it wider. So, and I look at the variances themselves. The variances themselves are really rather minor and modest. The only one is the depth, but again, that's an existing condition with the existing one-story rear addition. So I'm not opposed to this application. So we'll need someone then to move a motion to get this started. Gary.
Well, Chair, I would move that the application be refused.
Okay, motion
As amended?
As amended, thank you. Yep.
Motion by Mr. McKay to refuse the application. Do I have a seconder? Ms. Plazer, all in favor? Opposed? Okay, that motion fails. I'll need a new motion.
Well, I'll make a motion to approve the variances as revised, and I believe that we're going to request privacy screens on the side of.
Yeah, they indicated that they were going to on both sides.
Okay, so we'll include a condition for privacy screens on each side of the rear deck.
Okay.
I think that's the only condition.
Yep. Okay, motion by Mr. Reed to approve with that condition. Do I have a seconder?
As amended.
As amended, thank you very much.
I did say that. I remembered this time.
Seconded by Ms. Crawford, all in favor? Okay, opposed? Okay, that is 3-2. That motion carries. The application is approved. Thank you all. Okay. Item number 28. 996 to 998 Avenue Road. This is an application to construct a new 7-story detached residential multiplex with a ground floor front entrance canopy, a rear ground floor terrace, rear balconies on the 2nd to 6th levels, front and rear rooftop terraces, and a rear outdoor amenity area on the 7th level. There will be a total of 6 residential dwelling units on this lot. Also, there will be 1 surface visitor parking space in the rear yard and a total of 12 parking spaces, of which 2 are accessible parking spaces, and 6 long-term bicycle parking spaces to be provided within a 2-level underground parking garage. This application is necessitated to reflect the variances required for a 7-story residential building, as well as the variances that were previously approved under minor variance decision. So committee has before it a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 5 photographs of the subject property, covering letter from the agent, previous decision number affecting the subject property, presentation materials from the agent, and site-specific zoning bylaws affecting the subject property. We have staff report from Urban Forestry.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we have the agent online.
Okay. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Name and address, please.
Todd Trudell with Goldberg Group, 2098 Avenue Road.
Okay, sir. I think we're going to need a presentation, please.
Okay, if you can call that up. And if you can go to page 3. So just to clarify that the application that was before the committee in October was for the 6-story development, which is shown on the left. Changes have been made to the building only in the areas of red illustrated here. So the addition of a 2nd level of underground parking, as well as some rooftop indoor amenity area. If you could go back to page 2 now. So with respect to the variances that were previously approved, the owner, we never went ahead and satisfied all the conditions. So that's why you're seeing all of the variances. So the ones that are boxed in green are ones that are approved and do not require any change. Variance number 3 for rear yard landscaping is a new variance that actually should have been identified in the previous application. And then variances 1 and 2 are for the additional height that's associated with moving the 6th floor up to the 7th, because now with the addition of amenity area, it's considered a floor or a story. But the actual physical height of the building has not changed from the 6-story version. It just moves the bench line from the top of the 6th story to the top of the mechanical penthouse. And as you'll notice in variances 4 and 5, which are the main wall heights, those are actually being reduced from the original application because the examiner had identified the front guardrail as part of the main wall, which was an error. If you can flip now to slide 5. So this is just a comparison of the two applications. As you can see, the one on the left, the green for the main wall height was measured to the top of the guard, and the corrected version is now reflected to the actual top of the 6th floor where the main wall height is measured to. And again, the variance for the 7th story is simply for the addition of the amenity area to the back of the mechanical penthouse, which moved the bench line from, like I said, the top of the 6th floor now to the top of the 7th, which includes the mechanical penthouse. So, but the measured height, the overall measured height of the building has not changed to the top of the mechanical penthouse. If you can go to the next slide. So the new variance with respect to landscaping, the requirement is for 50%, and we're providing 10%. And if you could just flip to slide 6. So this essentially shows the existing conditions behind 996 and 998 Avenue, where there's essentially no existing landscaping. It is paved and gravel. And you might be able to see that better in the photos, if you can flip to those. Yeah, and go to the 4th one. So that's the existing condition in the rear. There's no landscaping, and with some structured landscaping now, it will be a better condition in the back and adjacent to the neighbors. I think the previous approval was again based on 6 stories, and the addition to the amenity areas is more of a definition in the bylaw that basically says that any kind of gross floor area is considered a story. And in looking at the actual addition to the building and the fact that there's no physical change to the actual overall height, it was my opinion that all the variances requested satisfied. I'm available to answer any questions.
Thank you, sir. Any questions, Dylan?
Yeah, so I noticed that the formerly, there's no soft landscaping at the back, but it does appear to be just gravel and earth. I do appreciate that you're adding some soft landscaping in the back, but would you be open to a condition that the parking spots be made with permeable pavers just to improve the drainage at the back?
I guess that would be a reasonable ask, just to increase that permeability. So I believe we could accept that as a condition.
Great, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? That rooftop amenity area, is that new? Was there an outdoor amenity area previously when this was approved?
When it was approved, there was no indoor amenity, but the rooftop terrace was available.
Okay. Okay, so it was part of the original application and approval.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay, anything else? That's it? Okay, thank you, sir. Take it into committee. Gary, what do you think?
Okay. Well, I wasn't on the earlier application, but having heard the submissions from the applicant, I think I'd be supportive of these changes, of the variances that they're requesting.
Okay, anyone else? Dylan?
Yeah, this seems very reasonable, really. It's a very minor change. The applicant pointed out that effectively it was already this height. It's just that, the previous was just mechanical, and now there's some indoor amenity space, which doesn't really seem to have any significant impact beyond that. And then we're just adding the soft landscaping, which was missed the previous one.
More indoor.
I think that if we can get permeable paving on the parking spot at the back, that might help a little bit. Yeah. So I think overall this seems like a minor and reasonable adjustment.
Okay. Gary, did you want to move a motion?
All right, I'll move an approval of these variances, subject to permeable pavers being put down in the parking space at the rear, and there
is a forestry condition.
Oh, thank you. Good. I'll just
forestry number 3.
Yes, you're correct. Subject to forestry condition number 3.
All right.
And just a question. Do we want to, there were 3 previous conditions. Do we need to carry those forward? If I remember correctly.
Okay, what were those 3 conditions? That looks like, yeah, those would carry, right, Sabrina? Those would transfer over?
Through you, Mr. Chair, if you want them to, yes.
Oh, so if we don't specify them, they disappear?
Well, no, they wouldn't disappear, but if you just want to make this decision complete, because we did add the other variances that were approved as part of the previous decision, then we can add these. So we already have the urban forestry number 3 covered.
Yes.
And then it would just be condition 2 and 3 from this decision.
Right. Yeah, that sounds reasonable. Yeah. Gary, you okay with that?
Yes, that's fine. So we'd amend it that way, yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Katie. Motion by Mr. McKay to approve with those conditions, seconded by Mr. Reed. All in favor?
Mm-hmm.
You have your approval, sir. Thank you. Okay, on to item number 29, 18 Langley. This is an application to legalize and maintain the existing rear third-story dormer converted attic into habitable space with a rooftop patio that were constructed beyond an authorized building permit. Committee has before a copy plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, revised site plan, floor plans, and elevations received April 22nd, 3 photographs of trees on the subject property, email correspondence from the agent, and an order to comply.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we have the agent online.
Mr. Perez.
Hi, good afternoon, Chairman and committee members. Eddie Perez, we're at 537 Rogers Road. I put in a submission with the revised drawings. If you put those up, I showed on the 3rd floor dotted lines on how the existing is right now. So it has a small little dormer, and all they're doing is extending the dormer.
Hold on a second, Eddie. We're just going to pull this up.
Yeah, it shows there in dotted lines where the dormers are right now and where the existing dormer is. So now pretty well what we're doing is we're only gaining the 4.8 square meters. It's very minimal. The existing house is already consisting of around 95% of the lot coverage. Now we're asking for 96. If you put up the next page, there's a picture showing the way the old dormer was, right at the last page. I attached the picture in the end. right there. You can see that just that dormer got expanded to each side, and the neighbor to the left also has one, same as what we're proposing. It's pretty well. They did it without permits, which we realize they shouldn't have, but it's done. And but the variances are very minor in nature.
Okay, questions? So that's a walkout to a rooftop deck, is it?
Yeah, they already had it. If you see in that picture, there was already a door, and then the railings were removed when they were renovating. But it's going to be the same, just a small little deck on the roof.
Looks like from the drawings that you've got privacy screening surrounding that deck.
Yeah, we provided a privacy screen on both sides.
Okay. All right, panel.
Just so I understand, so the looking at that picture of the existing dormer, so you're just expanding that outwards. You're widening it.
Yeah, correct.
Okay, all right. I understand it anyway. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you. We'll take it into committee. Again, work undertaken without a permit, we don't particularly appreciate that. Mr. Perez knows that. But having said that, the amount of work that was done seems relatively modest. Okay, anyone comments?
I'm happy to move a motion to approve this, maybe just including the language around not condoning unpermitted work.
Yep.
No conditions attached.
Can we, Katie, tie it to the elevations? I just want to lock that screening in.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. So with a condition that we're tying to the elevation drawings. Is there a specific number or just what was submitted?
Do you want all elevation
Just the
plans or
side.
just the sides?
elevation?
Yeah, okay. The side's fine. Okay. Motion by Ms. Plazer to approve with that condition of seconder. Ms. Crawford, all in favor? Unanimous. You have your approval, sir. Thank you. And with the notation that we don't condone undertaking work without a permit. Okay, move on to, everyone okay? Does anyone need a break? You all good to keep going? Gary, you okay?
Okay, thanks. Yes, fine. Sure, we can continue. Yep.
Okay, we move on to item number 30, 4 Elderwood Drive. This is an application to alter the existing 2.5-story detached dwelling by constructing a rear 2-story addition with a ground floor concrete terrace and stairs and a new carport along a portion of the east side wall. The committee has before a copy of plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. Planning rationale from the agent, tree protection plan. We have staff reports from urban forestry and 5 form letters in support from owners of 2, 3, 6, 7 Elderwood Drive and 3 Robinwood.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we have the agent in person.
In person?
Yes.
Hi, come on up. Name and address, please, ma'am.
My name is Lindsay Fialkov, and I'm the owner at 4 Elderwood Drive.
Okay, this is just, you're just filling in a corner in the rear, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's a fairly simple application.
Yes.
Does anyone need a presentation on this one? I don't think so. We don't really need a presentation. It's fairly straightforward. We've read the application. We are familiar with the material. Is there anything you'd like to share with us since you came all the way down here for this?
Just that we've spoken to all of our neighbors, on both abutting neighbors and in our backyard. We've received 5 letters of support. So that's all.
Okay. Great, thank you.
I would just say it was really helpful just to read explicitly in the materials what type of neighbor outreach you guys undertook. So thank you for including that. I appreciated it.
Okay. All right, let's take it into committee. Katie, since you like this one so much.
Sure, thank you. Yeah, fairly modest extension, if you can even call it that, since it's sort of staying within the same overall footprint. I would move to approve with urban forestry condition 2 and There was an advisory comment as well. I'm not sure if or how we include
No, we don't
that.
have to do anything, just acknowledge. Have you seen
acknowledging
the
that.
forestry reports?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
you've seen them, okay.
So just the one condition, number 2.
Okay, all right, motion by Ms. Blazer to approve. There was a seconder, Mr. McKay. All in favor? You have your approval, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Move on to item number 31. This is 224 Fulton Avenue. This is an application to alter the existing 2.5-story semi-detached dwelling by enclosing a portion of the front porch for habitable space, a front third-floor dormer expansion, a rear basement window well, a rear cantilevered second-floor addition, and a rear third-floor dormer addition with a rooftop deck. The existing rear one-story addition will be demolished. Committee has before it a copy of plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 3 photographs of trees on the subject property, and a covering letter from the agent. We have staff reports from Urban Forestry and Metrolinx.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we have the agent online and the 2 registered speakers in person.
Okay. All right, Mr. Galbraith.
Afternoon, Sean Galbraith, planner here on behalf of the application at 18 King Street East, Suite 1400.
All right, sir. There's some folks here who want to speak to this item, so we'll need a short presentation, please.
Sure. If the cover letter that I submitted could be brought up on the screen, that'd be fantastic. There we go. So the first page there, that illustration shows what is being proposed. There is an existing 1-story rear sunroom at the rear that is being removed, and the new construction would be a partially enclosed front porch. You can see that on the left side, so half the front porch is being proposed to be enclosed, and then a rear second-story addition and a partial rear second-story side addition. And then there'll also be an extension of the existing third-floor roof deck with a little bit of extra square footage inside up there. The property currently has a roof deck on the second story above the solarium and a smaller roof deck on the 3rd floor itself. If you could scroll down, please. Keep going. That's just the front of the house. It has an existing front parking pad, which will be maintained. The existing rear of the property basically has 0 soft landscaping. There's an existing garage and then extensive decking. The decking and the garage are proposed to be removed, and the property will be brought into compliance with the required rear yard soft landscaping, a significant improvement over the existing condition. You can scroll down, please. So the first variance is the building depth. This variance is required not because the building itself is too long, but because the property at 226 Fulton sits significantly farther forward on the property compared to the subject site and all of the properties to the subject site's west. As the committee knows, the front yard setback is the average of the 2 abutting properties, and where you have this offset of houses, it pulls the front yard setback closer to the road than would otherwise be required, and that pulls the required depth line forward on the house. So the red dashed line on this is where the required front yard or the required building depth would be if the house at 226 was farther back on its lot. The blue area highlighted is the area of the proposed 2nd floor that is subject to the depth variance there. Thank you for zooming in. If you could scroll down to the next one, please. The FSI, it's an unusual one. We're actually reducing the FSI on the property. Right now there's a shallow basement, and so the basement is counted in the FSI, which is the existing is 1.24. They're underpinning the basement, and so that lowers the FSI. The above grade FSI currently is about 0.81, and that's being increased to 1.0. well within the approved range of FSIs on Fulton. It's not a particularly large house or square footage. It's just the lot is a little bit on the smaller side. If you could scroll down, please. The rear yard setback. So the rear yard setback, the proposed houses, or the proposed rear addition, is intended to align with the rear extension on the house at 222 Fulton. I note that that the owner at 222 provided a letter of concern. The nature of those concerns were, I think, all construction related, and we are obviously happy to satisfy them and work with them through the building permit process, should the committee see fit to approve this project. The house, unfortunately, it sits quite far back on the lot relative to most houses on this street. And so even a modest extension to the rear is going to sort of impinge on the rear yard setback requirement. The existing house already exceeds the rear yard setback requirement by 1.22 meters. So it's a fairly modest extension beyond that. If you could scroll down, please. I see my time's coming up, so I'll be quick. Front yard landscaping. Again, another significant improvement over the existing condition. Currently there's only a small amount of front landscaping, soft landscaping. The steps are being consolidated with the parking pad, so there's no need for a separate walkway. This allows that walkway to be replaced with soft landscaping. Again, a significant improvement over the existing condition. I understand there are concerns from 226 regarding shadowing. We found out about that a bit late in the process. So there, in the late materials, there is a partial shadow study that we prepared. On that one there, you can see let's call it significant variation in lot depths across the rear of that block, and where the arrow, that black arrow is on the screen, that's the subject site, and you can see how much farther back on its lot it sits relative to the neighbor at 226 and all properties to its east. This property is sort of the transition between this small segment of semis to the west and this series of houses to the east. If you could just scroll down to just go to the last page of the shadows. That'll be just the summary of it. There we go. So on this last page, this is the equinox at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Most of the rear yard, or most of the shadows on the rear yard of 226 are in existing condition. That's all the sort of the gray area on the property on the right side of the one that has all the light on its roof. In removing the sort of teal color are a little bit of new shadow that will be added by the proposed 2-story rear addition. Most of the new shadow would fall 2 doors away at this time, but 226 also benefits from the removal of the garage, which will remove shadows from the rear of their property. And with regards to overlook, the 2 rooftop decks currently have full view of the rear yard of 226. I submitted a very late photo that's in the files if that wants to be brought up, but if not, that's totally fine. There you go there. There's no current privacy in the rear yard of 226, which is really common in urban Toronto, where we have small lots very close to each other. This is just the nature of.
Okay, Sean, I'm just going to cut you off there.
Totally fine. That's it. That's it for me. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. We'll hold our questions until we hear from the neighbor. And hi. Name and address, please, ma'am. Yeah, should turn it to green. Just push it, yep.
Oh,
there you
okay.
go.
Hello. Good afternoon, members of the committee. My name is Nora Churchill, and I am the owner of 226 Fulton. I share a mutual drive with the applicant. First of all, I'd like to apologize for my late submissions. It's a foreign process to me, and I had to do a bit, get through a lot of material that I'm not familiar reading. And my schedule didn't allow, so I apologize.
Did we have that in our subs, or is that late stuff?
It's in the late file.
Okay, oh, it's on, all right.
And there are some photos I would like to bring up, if that's possible, please.
All right, ma'am, go ahead.
So I'll go ahead, first of all, with what I've written. From a neighboring perspective, the concern is not solely the numerical FSI, but the actual built form and its effect, including the addition of a cantilevered second floor and rear expansion, which will increase massing and perceived scale. Potential impacts on privacy due to new or enlarged second and third floor overlook conditions, shadowing and loss of light, particularly from the rear and side additions. The shadow study to me is incomplete. It was delivered, I realize I asked for it late, but it was also delivered last night and does not consider the summer and fall times. It only considers the spring equinox. And really the biggest time I'm spending there is there's some in spring, but a lot of it is summer and fall. The expansion of the upper story space, which may intensify overlook and reduce the sense of separation between the properties. While the removal of the sunroom and basement reclassification may reduce FSI on paper, the proposed additions appear to increase the functional and visual intensity of the home above grade, which is what most directly affects adjacent properties. Potential impact on my property value of 226, as loss of light could impact this. It's highly sought after, and that concerns me. When I sit in my kitchen for breakfast, I get a lot of light. Up in the second floor of my home, I have a music studio. It's my place of business, and I enjoy and need that light when I'm working. So that would affect me there. I was concerned with the lack of good faith on 2 occasions when I asked directly about the plans for the back, and the question was evaded. I was told that they were only dealing with the inside and that the back wasn't being dealt with at all. And the sign was posted, and that's how I found out about it, without a conversation. Its impact also is a concern on amenity space. So regarding the building depth, the differences are, if you see the picture that the urban planner had put up, you'd see that all of the houses that are have short frontages are the old East York, and the ones from the rest of the street are Toronto. So the fact that the applicant at 224 has the front yard asset is the parking pad. I am not able to apply for that because I have a short frontage. So 226 has a small house imprint with limited amenity space. Its amenity space is the backyard, and the proposed development would compromise the value and the use of this space. The importance of maintaining the integrity of the neighborhood, considering lots of a certain size, age, and character. Potential precedent is set affecting the evolution of this neighborhood. None of the homes on this street, they're not made such differences at the front, is my point here. And the potential impact or reduced quality of life for me, quite frankly. I'm concerned, this is probably a city matter, I'm not sure, but the fence, I presume, will be damaged when the garage or shed comes down, and I would just want assurance that it will be replaced at the same style at their expense, not mine, because I just literally paid to have it done. So if you look at the pictures, you can see what the space looked like before after iterations of having family grow up there. I've been there for 29 years. So in 2020, you can see that I made, at great expense, this outdoor living space. And that is exactly how I see it, as an extension of my living space. I value it. It is my solace, my oasis. It's it's super important to me. And you can see that it's where I entertain. It's really an outdoor room. And then you will also see that I included some pictures where you can see the light throughout the summer. This is what I found going through my pictures of when I had the place done. So you can see at different times of day where there is plenty of light up until almost 7 o'clock at night. And I don't want that impacted by a large, imposing second-story addition. And then if you
I'm just going to ask you to wrap up here.
Right. I just want to make a point that this building depth that he speaks of, that it's matching up to the one next door. This is what he's considered as matching up. This is not her, the end of her building. This is a frame with plastic on it. It's a solarium. It is not her home that goes out that far. So it's being misrepresented, as is. I am not objecting to the garage coming down, but the fact that it's saying that you can't get a car down there, the person who lived there until he died last year, up to 2 years when he was ill, parked his car, a sedan, in the back 6 months of every year. So I have not objected to that, but I'm saying that things have been misrepresented.
Okay. That's
Thank
great.
you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Any questions, panel? Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you.
We have another speaker, do we?
I can just briefly say on behalf of my neighbor, if I may.
Not really. I'm
Okay.
afraid that we can't really accommodate that. Did we have another speaker?
She's here, but I think she doesn't want to speak anymore.
Sorry, ma'am, you can come up with her if that makes her feel better. Yeah, why don't you come on up with her?
They have the letter.
Hello. Yeah, have a seat. Yeah. Thank you, sir. See the little microphone in front of you? There's a little, push it, make sure the light is green.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Good
All right, before you start, just if you could give us your name and address.
Yeah, I was just going to say that.
Okay.
Deirdre Johnson, and I do not reside on the street. I was just asked to support my friend, Norma, who lives at 226.
And your?
Vula, who lives at 224.
No, 222.
222.
222 Fulton.
Yeah.
Okay.
222 Fulton.
Okay, you're right next door.
I'm next door.
Okay.
And her first language isn't
I understand.
English, so they've just asked me to read the letter.
Sure.
Okay. To whom it may concern, my name is Paris Giffey, which is Vula Christopoulos. I am the owner and the resident of the attached home 222 Fulton Avenue, neighboring the subject property. I understand that construction and renovation work is being proposed, and I wish to share a few considerations for the committee review. While I respect my neighbor's right to make improvements to their property, I have concerns about ensuring that any such work does not result in damage, disruption, or adverse impact to my home. Also, I'm concerned with the size and scope of this project. In particular, I respectfully request that the committee ensure that no work encroaches upon, alters, or otherwise impacts my property in any way. All construction activities remain fully contained within the neighboring property. The structural division between our attached homes is not altered, compromised, or affected in any matter that may impact the integrity of my home. Appropriate safeguards are in place throughout the entire construction process to prevent any damage, including but not limited to water infiltration, structural issues, or exposure to the elements. I have been made aware of similar situations where inadequate construction practices such as prolonged exposure of roofing and insufficient protection during building resulted in significant damage to neighboring properties, including on our street. Upon further review of the submitted drawings, I note a reference indicating that the existing basement floor to be underpinned with a new concrete slab proposed at 1.9 inches below the current elevation. However, the scope of work does not appear to be clearly described in the purpose of the application provided in the public notice, perhaps because there is no variance requested. Given that underpinning and excavation at this depth may have implications for the shared center wall and the foundations of our attached homes, I am concerned about the potential structural impact during construction. I would appreciate clarification on this aspect of the proposal, as well as reassurance that appropriate measures and safeguards will be implemented to fully protect the structural integrity of my property throughout the process. In addition, I respectfully request that the committee consider, where appropriate, requiring measures to ensure that the neighboring property assumes responsibility for any damages from construction and promptly addresses and rectifies such damages. I trust that the committee will take these concerns in careful consideration when reviewing the application. My hope is that my property will remain fully protected, unaffected, and structurally secure throughout any approved work. Thank you for your time and consideration. Sincerely, Vula Christopoulos, owner of 222 Fulton Avenue,
Thank
Toronto,
you
Ontario.
so much for writing that out. I will tell you that the concerns that you're raising about construction and damage to us are beyond the purview of this committee. They're typically dealt with through the building permit process. So there is a process that is designed to ensure that there is no damage, and the applicant would have to go through that process to assure that there wouldn't be any impact through construction on the adjoining property. So if you can communicate that to her, I'd appreciate that.
I will. I don't speak Greek. So,
oh, okay.
Norma does.
All right. Maybe
she
you
will.
could convey that to her. Thank you so much.
Thank
Somebody Greek here? Somebody Greek here? No, nobody?
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. That's it for our speakers. All right. If we can get the agent back.
Thank you very much. I think I got most of that. So with regards to the shadow study, we prepared it as soon as we could. It took time to actually prepare. As committee knows, the equinoxes are what are used because it is the balance between the high summer sun, which results in fewer shadows, and the low winter sun, which results in larger shadows. So in the summer, the shadow impact will be even less because the sun will be higher in the sky. This isn't obviously the worst case scenario, but this is the balanced shadow study that the Toronto Terms of Reference tends to use. And in my opinion, this is a modest increase in shadow. And when you factor in the shadows removed, it's even less. And again, the existing development already casts significant shadows across the rear yard of 226. I already addressed 222, and Mr. Chair did as well. Those are all construction-related issues, and we dealt with through the building permit process. Again, the second story building depth is largely a function, or the requirement for a variance there is largely a function of the house at 226 being set so far forward on the property. If the properties were aligned, as they are to the west, there would be no depth variance at all. It would just be a small rear yard setback variance. In my opinion, this is not a significant impact on the enjoyment of the neighbor's property, who have, as the photo showed, a very large rear yard. It was taken by the lack of rear yard soft landscaping, but that's neither here nor there. I do not believe that there will be any notable change in the amount of privacy or overlook or the enjoyment of that rear yard. Again, as the existing shadows are already significant from the existing development, and there's a very modest increase, and in some cases a decrease. And there will be no functional difference in the amount of overlook compared to the existing condition of 2 balconies, one on the 2nd floor and one on the 3rd floor, which provide, as the photo showed, full view of the yard. With regards to consultation, I apologize if the owner, if it wasn't sufficient. I assigned homework to the owners to talk to their immediate abutting neighbors. I like it when neighbors talk to neighbors, but notwithstanding that, I also submitted or circulated my own letter to all neighbors, inviting people to reach out and contact me. I received no contact from anyone in the neighborhood, including from the abutting neighbors. I apologize if there was any oversight in that consultation, but I certainly myself made the effort to reach out to neighbors. There was a question about property values. I don't think this will have an impact on property values, but that's not a planning consideration and not really before the committee. What else was there? I think that was generally it, but if I've missed anything, please raise it with me and I'm happy to speak to it.
Okay, thank you very much. Panel, questions? No questions? The 3rd floor rooftop balcony. Your drawings are showing what looks like a glass structure.
That's just the railings there.
Yeah. So is there?
The materials haven't been decided, I would say. It's
say
just
again?
that's just dashed. The materials of that the guard. They're not really implied by that. They can be any material. They can be.
The neighbor at 226 has raised, some concerns about privacy. So I'm wondering whether there's an overlook concern there towards 226.
There's already significant overlook from the existing 2 rooftop decks from the 3rd floor and from the 2nd floor. I don't think there will be any negative change in that respect. But notwithstanding, we could certainly the guards could be made of an opaque material. I don't see any issue with that.
I guess the concern, I'm just musing here, but the neighbor's concerned about light. So if we put something that's opaque there, then it's going to be having more shadow than it would otherwise have.
That's always the balance between privacy and shadow, isn't it? If the committee would like a privacy screen on that side, we'll provide one. But otherwise, if the railing material, the guard, whatever we're calling that material, if that could be opaque, then it wouldn't extend so high up and cast more shadow, perhaps as a balance between the two. I'm not sure, but we're open. We're open to the idea.
What's the use of the 3rd story, the enclosed portion of the 3rd story proposed to be? Is it a bedroom?
Give me 1 sec. I want to just double check just to make sure that I tell you the right answer. It is just a study.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Any further questions? Okay. Let's take it into committee. Anyone have any thoughts or observations? You guys are unusually quiet today. Yeah, Dylan?
When I first looked at this, it struck me as really quite subtle additions, except maybe for the second story at the back. It seemed to me that they found ways to increase the space inside with really very limited impact, which I was impressed by. The kind of the overlook and shading of the neighbor's yard is almost inevitable simply because they're offset. The two buildings are offset. Normally, I think this would be a fairly unexceptional extension. I also note that the extension at the very back actually also indents a little bit, which I think is thoughtful. It doesn't take up the whole width that the middle part is taking up. So there has been an effort to kind of offset and reduce the massing impact of that extension. So to me, this is honestly a pretty thoughtful and modest expansion. I think also the cantilever of the second story thing over an open space will also reduce the massing impact. There's no windows on the side, so that should reduce. And then the elimination of the rear garage and the adding of soft landscaping is really a huge improvement.
Yeah.
Really huge improvement. So overall, I understand, of course, there's going to be an impact on the neighbor, and the neighbor's concerned by these changes, but I feel like it's been designed in a fairly thoughtful way that doesn't really, that somewhat minimizes the impact of the expansion.
Yeah.
That's my thought.
Well, personally, I would agree. Again, this is not an uncommon type of addition off the rear of homes. I thought it was a reasonably well-articulated design. I heard the neighbor raise some concerns about light, so that's why I talked about the third floor deck. I'm going to assume that the neighbor would prefer to have more light.
I think we can. I trust the planner and the neighbor to be able to work out what's preferred. The planner seems to be open to options.
Yeah.
So if the neighbor prefers something that will not block light, that's great. If the neighbor prefers something that will create more privacy, that's also great.
Yeah.
I'm sure that the applicants will be willing to choose a railing material that suits what the neighbor is concerned about.
Yeah, and I think you're right. It improves the existing condition for soft landscaping in the rear. The removal of the garage is probably
I think the removal of the garage will improve. Will actually have a net benefit for the neighbor.
Okay.
Rear yard.
Good. Thank you. Anyone else? All right. I'll look then. Maybe Dylan, you want to take a?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve these variances with forestry condition number 2.
Okay, motion by Mr. Reed to approve, subject to forestry number 2. Have a seconder? Ms. Crawford, all in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you very much. You have your approval. Thank you for coming down, ma'am. Okay, we move on to item number 32. 21 Metcalfe Street. This is an application to alter the existing 2.5-story townhouse dwelling by constructing a rear ground floor addition and a rear 3rd-story addition with a rear roof deck. Committee has before it a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 2 photographs of the subject property, staff report from Urban Forestry, and 3 form letters in support from 23 Metcalfe, and another one from 23 Metcalfe, and one from 19 Metcalfe. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Name and address.
Christopher McCormack. My office is at 22 McGee, but I live in Cabbagetown and have done several projects there, so I'm familiar with this application.
Okay. You're only asking for FSI, right?
Yeah. And
so it's pretty...
I don't think
pretty straightforward.
I don't think there's a house in Cabbagetown that isn't over 1 ton.
Yeah, for sure. I think you're right. So I'm going to suggest we don't really need a presentation. We appreciate you coming down, but we probably don't need a presentation. We've read your application. We're familiar with the material. Is there anything you'd like to share with us before we might have a question?
I appreciate your attention. Thanks.
Okay, we do have a question.
Quick question. I know this is within a heritage area. Did you talk to Heritage or hear back from them at all?
Yeah, they're completely satisfied that there's nothing being done on the street front.
Okay, great. I just wanted to make sure.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? It's our second last application, so we're kind of pleased that there are no questions.
I would just add the comment that the visuals you provided were excellent in terms of providing a quick overview of what the changes were. I really appreciated it.
Okay. All right. We're in committee. Then, Katie, again, you like this one so much?
I have to keep my mouth shut more. Yeah, we're just talking one variance. We've got some support letters on file. I just see urban forestry condition number 2 that I would attach to a motion to approve.
Okay, motion by Ms. Plaitzer to approve. Do I have a seconder? Ms. Crawford, sorry, Gary, I'll get you next time. All in favor? You have unanimous approval. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Okay, we move on to item number 33. 85 Old Forest Road. This is an application to construct a new 3-story detached dwelling with a front integral garage, a front covered porch, a rear ground floor terrace, rear 2nd-story balcony, and a side 3rd-story balcony. Also to reconstruct the front driveway abutting Old Forest Road and to construct a rear yard in-ground swimming pool. Committee has before it a copy of plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, a arborist report. We have planning rationale from the agent, presentation materials from the agent. We have correspondence and support from 78, 101, 88, 80, 110, and 91 Old Forest Road, and a 5-signature petition in support from 57, 91, 87 Old Forest Road, and 4 Gardner. Okay.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we have the agent online and 1 registered speaker.
All right. Good afternoon, Mr. Rose.
Glad this is your last one. We're pretty good on the schedule here.
Yeah, unusual for us.
It is. My client's like, oh, it's taking so long. I said, no, this is good.
Yeah. All right, name and address for the record.
So Lauren Rose, 388 Spadina Road, Toronto.
Great, sir. Even though this is a new 3-story build, it would seem that your variances are relatively minor. Maybe just a very, very quick overview. I see you've got substantial support, which my experience in this area is unusual. So maybe just a quick overview. Oh, sorry, are you here to speak?
Yes, I'm the neighbor, next door neighbor.
Okay, I didn't have you listed. Okay.
Actually, I was out of the country and just came back, so I'm interested.
All right, we'll get you in a minute, sir. Sorry for that.
Sorry, he's opposition?
Yeah, yes, he is. Yes, he does have some concerns. So, Mr.
Okay.
Rose, we will need a presentation from you.
Sure. Okay. So I guess why don't you show out the site plan?
There is presentation materials here.
There's an application for a new dwelling to replace the old existing one. As you said, we have 9 letters of support. We have no comments from planning or the counselor's office. I'll take you through the variance. Variances 1 and 7 are actually just to do with side yard setbacks. You'll note they probably just best to stay at the site plan if you don't mind. You'll note that the house is, the proposed house, the side yard setbacks are actually the same or further away from the property lines than from the existing, and in keeping with the side yard setbacks, they're greater than the side yard setbacks of the houses on either side. So that's for variances 1 and 7. So in terms of the location from the street, as you can see here, and I'll show you another thing. On this side of the street, the houses, the lots don't run perpendicular to the lot line, to the street line. It's a big diagonal. So you can see these two diagonal lines that show the 17 meters in the middle of the drawing. That's where the required house, if you were to comply with all the bylaws, would be. Of course, you wouldn't be able to comply with the rear yard. So while the required front yard setback is sort of further back, part of the house is in front of it, part of it is behind. We couldn't really create a trapezoidal house. You can see faintly the dotted line is the old existing house. On the west side, we're barely in front of it. Obviously, on the east side, we're a little bit more in front of it, but it's due to the angle on the street. I will note that the back of the house is lined up with the old back of the house. So whereas it's important to maintain streetscapes, front yard setbacks compatible, it's also required of official plan that the rear yards are also compatible with existing. So that's probably the variance with the biggest delta, but it is only at the pinch point. Maximum height of the main walls, I can show you another evidence after we go through all these. Many houses on the street have gables. The bylaw didn't anticipate gables. Very common architectural element in this neighborhood especially. So any house with a gable is not going to comply with the height of main walls. Permitted building depth says we're 21.74, but if you calculate from the front setback, we're really 19.3 meters. For the second floor, it's sort of the way you have to calculate things, but it is in keeping with the area. Floor space index, we're at 0.81, very common in the area, and no opposition until I just heard about today's. Rear yard setback, it's the house in itself complies, it's just the one-story projection. As I said, it's in line with the old rear of the house. Number 7, we talked about side yard setbacks. Permitted area of each platform, so we're at 4 meters, we're at 4.65. It's not a big difference. Number 9 is the width of the front and rear stairs. These are silly variances. They're the same width of the stoop in the front, and nobody has any objections to that. The driveway width, if you can see the 7.22 meters on the diagonal, that's the diagonal dimension. Allowable is 6.71. You'll see my driveway is actually perpendicular to the house, only 6 meters wide. So it's a technical variance because it's measured on the bias. If staff can pull up my my visual representation. Yes, is that? Yeah, so if you can blow up that first page. In regards to the front yard setback, you can see on the south side of the street, all the lots are perpendicular to Old Forest Hill Road. Only on these 2 blocks here are they trapezoidal. So you can see actually number 87 is the anomaly on the street, which is very far back. Generally speaking, on this block, the houses line up, but if you go across to Spadina, you will see that the pinch points are quite different and smaller on 73 and 72. We are going forward of the present situation, but we still believe this will look good on the street and is in keeping with the area. Planning did not have any points against it. And if you scroll down more, This is just images. That's the existing house. It's been looking like a dud for many years. The neighbors are very happy that this thing's finally coming down. Scroll along. That's the house. Again, another shot. Keep going. And that's the present house and how far the house on the corner of Spadina is in front of the present house. We're coming a little bit forward of that. Keep going. Keep going. So it's a pattern on the street that they stagger. This is the house on the other side. You'll see the gable. It has a gable. It would have the height variance for main walls as well. And the rest of the images are other streets, houses on the street. Oh, not that one. This is just has to do with some cedars. There's a private agreement with the neighbor next door about the cedars. Not important right now. And then all these houses here have gables, which would need height variance. If you can scroll through, you'll see.
Okay, I think we've got. I think you get your point. So I'm gonna. You're over time, so I'm just gonna cut you off there, if that's okay.
Yeah.
All right.
That's fine.
We'll just hold our questions, sir. Did you want to come up, please? You can just. There's a button in front of you. Make sure to push it till it's green.
It's already green.
It's already green. Okay.
Thank you.
Name and address, please, sir.
I'm Khosrow Adeli, Dr. Adeli from the neighboring house, 79 Old Forest Hill Road.
Okay, you're right next door?
Adeli, A-D-E-L-I.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the next door, east side.
You've got 5 minutes, sir.
Yeah, so thank you. Yeah, I actually initially wasn't that concerned, but when I read this more carefully, the one major concern is the extension of the house by almost 6 meters in the front. I don't regard that as a minor variance. It's going, currently the driveway, so the proposal is to reduce the driveway from 12 meters to 6.4 meters. So that is what that will do is totally block all of our windows. On the left side of this new house, on the east side of this new house. So I was quite concerned about that because we have 2 windows that face that house currently are from our kitchen, and then we have another large window from our dining room. And I believe at least 2 of those windows will be fully blocked. I have to measure exactly what will actually be blocked because I just came from Europe. I had a meeting and I didn't get a chance to look at it carefully. But there is a significant change to the driveway, which will lead to significant blockage of our house. And since this house will be 12 meters high, we will be, and they are also suggesting that they will reduce the amount of the space between the 2 houses. That will lead to basically us facing this 12-meter high wall. So I don't know if it's usual to extend a house to that and reduce the front, the space between the street and the house by 6 meters. So that was one concern. A couple of other concerns is that they will reduce from 1 meters, which is the minimum, to 1.2 meters. Again, that's the space between the houses to the fence that separates our house. So imagine, extending the wall towards the front by 6 meters and reducing the space with our house. It will significantly basically block totally our lighting towards our windows. Another issue is that they are adding these terraces that will be facing our house. And will significantly have a privacy concerns potentially. So those are the main ones. There are some others, but I just wanted to raise concern regarding these issues. I don't regard especially a couple of those changes as minor.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
Any questions for the speaker? No questions. Thank you very much, sir. We'll get the agent to respond to your concerns. Okay, if we can
You
get
ready?
Mr. Rose back.
Yeah, if you can do me a favor and put my presentation back up and scroll to the east view of the house in front. Scroll down. Okay, right there. If you can blow that up, I guess. As I said, we're barely, so the curve that you see in the distance there, we're coming maybe 3 feet in front of that. We won't even make it to his chimney. So those windows, the big ones, will not be covered whatsoever. We're barely coming in front of that. So while the variance seems large, it's large because the neighbor on the west side, their setback is so much bigger than anyone else's, and we have to be the average of the two. So we're actually quite in line more with him than the other neighbor. He's talked about the height. There is no height variance. If you look back at the site plan, he said that we were coming closer to his house. We're actually further away than the existing. If you zoom in there, you can see the dotted line. The existing house is about 0.6 meters from the property line. We're now going to be 1.22. Other side. Both sides are closer. And he's at 1.22. If you look, you can see his setback, and he has a balcony on the back of his house. So we could, I suppose, make it comply with the 4 meters, but it's going to be the same size as the round projection. At the back of the house is virtually lining up with where the existing house is now. You can see that by the dotted line. The bump out, if you look to the bottom of that, there's a brick wall there for him now. So we are not, you can see, if you look at the front of the house, you can see his chimney. So his view from those big windows is not disturbed whatsoever. We did reach out to him weeks ago. I guess he was out of town now. We understand why he hasn't responded. That's my comments about his comments. I respect his opinion, obviously. But I think they relieve his concerns that we're coming further from his house, and his window views will not be blocked whatsoever.
Okay, thank you, sir. Dylan?
Just to follow up on his concern about privacy, are you planning at the rear to put up like a fence or something so that you won't be seeing directly into each other's, or is there already a fence?
So, good question. If you look at, can staff go to the second floor plan? It's a round balcony, so a privacy screen would look really odd.
And I'm not saying of privacy screen, just mean
no, my drawings, the one that had the site plan. Next one. Nope, next one. So how do you put a privacy screen on a round balcony? Nope, the one up.
Are you talking about screening for the fence?
No, I'm just saying, like, he's concerned that your terrace will overlook his rear yard. Are you planning to put like a fence between the two properties or something like that?
Yeah, so in fact, from there is a photo on my exhibits, but my client's yard is open to Spadina. He wants to put a hedge right along there to sort of give full privacy to his backyard. I think it's at the end of the presentation. When you look from Spadina, you see right into my client's backyard. So keep going all the way to the bottom, I think, unless I didn't include it. There it is. Sorry, back up. So there's a balcony there now, and we're not exceeding that. And we're hoping to put some screening for trees. So that's a great photo. So the condition is exactly the same as it is now. Just the balcony's moved further in.
I just like there is a fence, an opaque fence between the two properties.
Well, there's a green screen on it. It's not really okay. But we plan to put some kind of cedar hedge or something because this is the view from Spadina Road.
Right.
So my client wants privacy from that. So I think that hopefully would alleviate concerns.
Right. So you're planning to put a hedge along there, and that will certainly give yourself privacy and also the neighbor privacy. Okay, great.
Yes.
That's all I wanted to know.
And it's his driveway.
Yeah, it doesn't look like the neighbor's space back there is kind of recreation
No,
space. It's parking.
But anyway, yeah, that was my question has been answered.
Okay.
So that's
Great. Thank you. Anyone else? Gary, you okay?
Yes, I am. It was a very helpful presentation and a very good presentation.
Okay. All right. Thank you. We're in committee. Dylan.
So like you, I was initially astonished that there was no opposition in Forest Hill.
Yeah.
I was impressed by the outreach, also by the fact that they'd created a building that clearly fits really well into the space and more or less fits the footprint of the old building.
Better than the existing, frankly.
Yeah, definitely. And it fits, it's more or less on the footprint of the old building. I will point out that it is slightly closer at the front to the neighbor than the current one, but it's actually further away at the back. So, I think that's a, plus and minus. Even though there's a bit of a side yard variance, the side yard is still extremely generous and in many cases better than the previous situation. So overall, I was impressed. I think that the neighbor can be assured that it will not be blocking their large windows. It may be slightly closer, but in an area that's not really, between the two houses, it's not really significant for either of them. And it sounds like the applicant plans to put a hedge across the back, so that'll provide privacy for both parties. Overall, I think it's a really excellent proposal. I'm impressed that they've, created a proposal that really fits into the neighborhood well and, was accepted by most of the neighbors. And I'm happy to support this.
Yeah, I would agree. I think the interesting thing is a lot of the variances are triggered by the offset nature of the structure to the road. If it were perpendicular, I think some of the variances that they're asking for would disappear, right? So I think that's why there's a relatively long list, but given that juxtaposition, I don't think it's an issue. All right, if anyone else doesn't have anything to add, then Dylan, maybe you could move a motion?
Yeah, I'll move a motion to approve the variances. I don't see any conditions.
There are none. Motion by Mr. Reid to approve. Do I have a seconder? Mr. McKay, all in favor? You have your approval. Thank you for coming down, sir.
So it seems to be a waste of time. I don't know.
All right, we are, I'm sorry, sir. I'm sorry, sir. I'm sorry, sir. We're done.
Not minor. And
okay, thank you very much, sir. We are adjourned at 4:59.
You approved all six.
Sir.
You're wasting people's time.
Thank you, sir.
You're wasting people's time.
All right, we are adjourned at 4:59. Thank you all. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Gary.
Yeah, thanks, Gary. Okay.
I think there was a lack of